Today is all about momentum. It's about learning from the experts, getting inspired from your peers, and importantly, discovering how we can all gain and keep that AI edge in procurement. So we're going to kick off here with the keynote presentation. As my presenters are joining me on stage, I'm going to get into some introductions. Okay, I see Chad arriving in here. I'm going to also introduce our keynote speaker, Zia Mansoor, Corporate Vice President for Microsoft's Worldwide Commercial Data and AI Business. Zia is the AI leader at Microsoft. He's shaping how the world's largest companies harness the power of AI to transform their business. He leads the global team responsible for Microsoft's go-to-market strategy and the product leadership across Azure's data and AI solutions. And under his leadership, Microsoft empowers customers worldwide to become truly data-driven organizations. As a member of Procurify's board of directors, he brings that same vision and expertise to our mission of reimagining AI-powered intake to pay. Joining Zia, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Chad Gaydos, Chief Executive Officer at Procurify. Chad brings more than 3 decades of experience leading high growth SaaS organizations. So think of SAP, Talkdesk, Skillsoft. He's been responsible for driving the operational excellence and building customer obsessed cultures. While he was at SAP and Talkdesk and Skillsoft, he led their go-to-market strategies, scaled international operations, and championed innovation across industries. A very warm welcome to you both. Thank you for joining me.
Rona, thank you so much. Zia, it's good to see you. Good to be here, yeah?
Great to be here.
Well, I want to kick off a couple of comments, Zia, before we hand it off to you. And again, thank you, Brona, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to be here. As CEO of Procurify, I couldn't be more excited to welcome all of you to our first ever Pulse event. Now, as Brona said up front, the event was designed to bring together our customers, our partners, leaders across finance and procurement who are shaping the next generation of spend management. Pulse is about ideas, learning from each other, from the market, and from the companies that are redefining what's possible. So today you're going to hear all about innovation and transformation and how AI is changing the way organizations make decisions. And that is why we are incredibly honored to have Zia Mansoor with us today. Now, Brona said up front, he is the guy at Microsoft. He leads all of AI and the cloud solutions globally and working with so many different organizations, think different industries, different continents, different size of companies, all that. But I thought, Zia, it would be helpful maybe to the team to kick off with a little bit more context on what's that like. What I know you spend every day in conversations with customers large and small, and you're helping them with how AI is reshaping their businesses. Can you give us a little more insight into your role and what you're seeing across these companies you work with?
Of course. Hey, Chad. Thanks so much. Awesome to be joining you today. Should be a fun discussion. Quickly at Microsoft, I'm responsible for our global commercial business across AI and cloud. For those not familiar, that's things like our Azure cloud platform, our data platform, everything from databases to Power BI, our AI platform, things like Azure OpenAI Service, and stuff we're doing with developers, everything from GitHub to Visual Studio. And so I spend a lot of time, like you said, with customers, especially over the last few years. Of course, the topic has been all about AI and strategy. And so I've had the opportunity to work with customers of all shapes and sizes around the world. And I'll just say is I had an opportunity to be a big part of the shift to cloud. And one of the exciting things for me on this AI platform shift has just been like even faster adoption, if you can imagine, even more than cloud. Really strong business leader support. And while like the first year or so, a lot of the talk was about experimentation, use cases, where do I get started? The conversations now in 2025, as we're kind of getting to the end of the year, have been all about how do I become a frontier firm. And so I'll talk a lot more about that, of what that means. But the simplest definition is like, how do I as an organization embrace AI in like everything that I do? So it's a big shift and a very exciting shift.
I love it. That is fantastic context. Before we go deeper into that and actually hear more about frontier firms and your thoughts in the keynote, uh, many may not know that you joined our board of directors back in the spring, and you have been an incredible thought partner with us and helping us think about our AI strategy, data, how to build products that truly deliver business outcomes. Maybe a word or two, Zia, on what drew you to Procurify and what excites you about our mission.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a couple areas, of course, the people, leadership, and then I'd say the opportunity. One of the things you'll hear me talk about today is, I think a lot of us, as we've been, using AI in our personal and work lives, we think about it a little bit of like, hey, you paste AI into some chatbot window, and I really think though what's shifting is where AI is going is how is it embedded into like kind of the human workflows. And if you think about Procurify, procurement, intake, there's already this world-class technology that Procurify has been, and I see just a fantastic opportunity to kind of reimagine this category and everything we're going to talk about today. Professionals who kind of work every day, how can AI kind of reshape, those workflows? And so the other thing I ought to say, one of the most exciting areas for me is, transforming in this mid-market organization. So anyway, I see a tremendous opportunity with Procurify, and excited to talk a little bit about what you all have been up to today.
Well, we're grateful for your leadership for the company, and we're grateful for you to be the keynote speaker today. Let's go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to fade out, give you the stage. I'll come back at the end and provide a little more insight on specific items with Procurify and how that may map to the Frontier mission. But we look forward to it, Zia. Thank you so much, and I'll give it over to you now.
Awesome. Let's get going. So I am thrilled to dive into becoming a frontier firm. But let me start with the obvious. Look, AI is moving super fast. Over the past year, we've had many breakthroughs. I feel like there's like a new announcement, almost every week. And the speed of change is unlike anything we've seen before. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, but like 2025 for me, and my point of view, is it's a real big turning point. AI now isn't just predicting or pattern matching. It's doing things like deep reasoning, thinking, solving real business problems. This is the moment, I think many of us have talked about. And now that it's here, I think the big question is where do we go? And more importantly, as a business, an organization, is how do I harness to create a real competitive edge or an AI edge for me? So if you go to the kind of the next slide, I would just say in this regard, one thing that's pretty clear is this speed is the new normal. The innovation isn't slowing down. It's only getting faster. And in the world of work, which many of you today, I think, are probably thinking about, this means AI has to be a top priority. And every leader that I've talked to, especially over, I think, the last year or so, they are asking, I think, the same question. How can AI give me a competitive edge? How can AI transform my business? Because if we don't figure that out, we're going to risk falling behind to those that do. So let me share a couple data points. The first data point you can see here is, and this one, by the way, it's according to our Microsoft Work Trend Index. And that Work Trend Index, it's an annual research report that we do. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. That really analyzes how work is evolving globally. And you can see here that AI adoption exploded in 2025. We saw a 64% year-over-year increase in business leaders who are using AI more than once a day. And so from my perspective, like AI has gone from being this demo or a proof of concept, something you talked about but maybe never really used, to really, really becoming part of a daily rhythm of work. It is absolutely no longer an experiment. It's embedded. The next data you can see on this next slide here is, and hopefully it jumps out to me, which is 82% of business leaders say, and I mentioned this a couple of times, is 2025 is that pivotal year to rethink how they're working with AI. And it's not just incremental change. I think specifically this 82% are really thinking about how to use AI agents over the next year or so. Agents, for example, that can start taking action autonomously. And one of the areas we're going to talk more about is the idea of the phases of becoming a frontier firm and the use of agents. But business leaders are seeing AI as key to expanding capacity, key to providing better customer experience, key to meeting demand and scale. And so I think if you go to the next slide, the question that's going to be front and center in today's webinar is, if you were building your business with AI from the ground up right now, what would you do differently? And I think that's a really good frame, because I feel like it puts things into perspective. And quite frankly, if you think about it, there are people in organizations who are building new businesses every day with this frame of thinking. But imagine just starting with this blank slate, knowing what AI can do. How would you redesign your product or processes? How would you redesign how you're interacting with customers? Because AI is moving from being this assistant to being embedded in the processes and becoming a key teammate. And so we really are entering a new frontier, a frontier that, we like to say is companies operating with intelligence on demand. And so the next slide is all about becoming frontier. And you're going to hear this phrase a lot. You're going to hear me talk about it a lot today. You may have already heard about it in industry conversations, or maybe you attended a Microsoft keynote or a conference. But what does this really mean? At its core, it's about becoming AI first in everything you do. It's a big strategic shift to put like AI at the center of your business, not like this add-on or something you're doing at the side, but really foundational. And back to the work trend index I talked about earlier, we talked about in that index that we define a frontier firm as organizations who build around this on-demand intelligence, and it's powered by a hybrid of humans and AI agents. And so these companies look very different than traditional ones. They scale faster, they move with agility, they create value, again, because AI is woven into all of their workflows. So what does this look like in practice? I thought I'd share a few core characteristics of an AI frontier organization and what we're seeing in our research. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see what is an AI frontier organization. You'll see, 4 things here. First one, it's AI is foundational, not an add-on. Frontier firms treat AI kind of like electricity or the internet. It's always on, always available. It's not a side project. It's not a check mark or a POC. It's foundational to how they operate. The second one is part of everyday work. Employees should be using AI as naturally as they use email. It's integrated into the tools they rely on. Think about reports drafted with AI, meetings summarized with AI, customer inquiries triaged by AI. It's the daily grind. It's like using AI in every process, making it sharper, making it faster. This one's a big one, number 3 here, which is org structure and processes that are built for AI. It's big because it's often overlooked. Frontier firms are rethinking the roles and workflows they have to really unlock AI's full potential. Silos are disappearing, so data kind of flows, decision making speeds up, but essentially they're redesigning themselves to eliminate any friction and maximize AI impact. The 4th, super important, culture of agility and innovation. People and frontier firms, they're leaning into that change. They're trained on AI. Employees are encouraged to experiment. They don't fear AI replacing them. They're excited to use it and amplify. It's forward-leaning and thrives on progress. So becoming frontier means making a strategic shift to being AI first, where AI is woven into every fabric of your business. Next slide. So if you think about, again, the frontier firm, putting AI at the center, it's integrating that with human expertise, things like co-pilots, to essentially unlock that productivity. For me, like I mentioned before, I got to be part of kind of the shift to the cloud. And so if you think about the last era being, moving to the cloud, this era is really about this concept of on-demand intelligence. And frontiers firms run on intelligence on tap. So look, if an employee or application needs an insight or task done, they can tap into AI instantly, just like we do with cloud computing power today. But here's the real shift that I think it's really important to kind of wrap our heads around. Every employee is going to become an agent boss, where you're going to manage one or more AI agents as part of your daily work. And look, this might seem a little like abstract today. Agent boss, what does that mean? But it's super real and something you need to think about. You're going to see new concepts emerge, like human and agent ratio. We're going to start thinking about how many AI agents per human you have on a team. Think about like concepts today, like span of control, but now with AI. Some teams might feel like an optimal ratio is 5 agents per human. Others, it's 1-to-1. It's going to become this new design parameters for organizations. And so this human AI collaboration is really going to be the heartbeat of what it means to be frontier. Let's go to the next slide. So I get a lot of questions of where do I get started to become an AI frontier firm? And what I really love about this slide here is the success framework, because it really helps frame how to evaluate where you are as an organization on leveraging AI. And look, I've had an opportunity to work with thousands of organizations at this point around how you think about success. And you can really boil it down to these 4 areas. And the great news, hopefully, for today's webinar is I'm going to expand on each of them today and actually give you customer examples. So the 4 are enrich employee experience, free people to do their best work. So putting AI in the flow of work, so every person moves faster. Second, reinventing customer engagement. How do I know my customer better? How do I serve my customer better? How do I use AI to anticipate needs? How do I personalize every touch point? The third is reshaping business processes. And the idea here is start thinking not about AI use cases, but how are you using AI to reshape every business process? How can I automate end-to-end processes? Remove latency from the back office to the front line. Fourth, and really a critical one for frontier firms, is bending the curve on innovation. How do I apply AI to design, to discover, to make breakthroughs? How am I compressing, for example, my R&D cycle? And last but not least, at the bottom here, you see the glue that holds it all together. Might be obvious, but I really want to make sure to call it out, is leading from the front. The leadership and culture is what makes this real. You can't kind of just do this again on the side. You got to drive it proactively. All right, so next, I'm going to kind of deep dive into each one of these pillars and hopefully bring it to life with examples of organizations and how they're using AI. My hope is this sparks some ideas for all of you. But the other is that, look, in many organizations, it's how you're using AI across every single one of these. And that's really what's about becoming a frontier firm. So let's get started. If you go to the next slide here, the first pillar, which is enriching employee experience. As I said earlier, this is all about making work better, more productive. And so I thought I'd share a couple examples here. So the first one you see is Eaton. They're a global power management company. They used AI to turn hours of documentation into minutes. Simple idea, high business value. They created a standard operating procedures, which they used to take an hour. They now do it in 10 minutes. They actually centralized over 1,000 of these standard operating procedures. They also sped up customer support by 20%. And so employees are spending a lot less time on paperwork and more time on improving processes. PG&E, again, one of the US's largest utilities, they empower their employees to automate repetitive tasks. I think many of us can relate to that. And they built thousands of this automation across their organization, saving over $75 million annually. And so again, you can see just incredible value here. And so kind of the key takeaway on this pillar, I'd say, would be is AI removing the work, removing kind of the mundane parts of someone's job, reports, data entry, repetitive fixes, and giving them more time on what matters. And so productivity goes up, as well as employee morale goes up. The second pillar, if you go to the next slide here, is reinventing customer engagement. And this is all about how do I, for example, serve my customer better? How do I deliver more personalized experiences to my customer? And so again, a couple examples here. Hero AI, a company in healthcare, they're really focused on ER bottlenecks with AI. So AI is predicting surges, reallocating beds, flagging patients ready for discharge. And so some results that they saw: wait times down 55%, and much more capacity unlocked in the ER. Sapphire, they're a financial services company, and they use AI to automate onboarding and compliance for institutional trades. And so their manual, the work they were doing, all this manual paperwork they were doing, reduced by 75%. And their clients are also able to trade significantly faster. And so again, you can see a great example here. And so you can see in this pillar, AI is like making you drive faster decisions, faster service, making personalization happen at scale. All right, let's go to the next pillar here, reshaping business processes. This one I'm really excited about, as I mentioned earlier, which is this idea of moving away from thinking about use cases to thinking about reshaping business processes, and in many ways reducing any friction in the back office. So a couple examples here: U.S. Auto Force, they're transforming their finance operations with AI. They had these manual reconciliations that took days. These now take hours. They're closing their month end faster. They're seeing error rates decrease, and they're seeing their teams spend more time on, the high value analysis work instead of, let's say, copy paste work. Cineplex, they're one of Canada's leading entertainment chains. They reimagined how they did ticket refunds. So what used to take, someone 10 minutes per request now takes under a minute, thanks to using AI to automate that workflow. And in 5 months, they processed, thousands of refunds. They saved thousands of hours, and boosted customer satisfaction. And so again, I think the key takeaway for me on this one is every organization has hidden inefficiencies, whether it's in finance, HR, procurement. How can AI streamline them, cut costs, in many ways, deliver a better service? Go to the next slide. Last but not least, the fourth pillar, bending the curve on innovation. Couple examples here. PNNL, it's a US research lab. They wanted to increase how they made better battery materials. Traditionally, that takes many years, lots of trial and error. And so they're doing AI-driven simulations where they can explore millions of possibilities in parallel. And so that helps them drive R&D faster. Moody's, a financial services company, reimagining how they do research. And so analysts who spent hours and hours digging through reports can now get answers in seconds. And so AI is pulling insights, drafting summaries, creating charts, freeing these experts to focus on judgment and strategy instead of this other work. And so I think really the thought process here should be is, if you had something like where a 10x improvement could transform your business, that's where AI can bend the curve. Speaking of which, and I talked a little bit, if you go to the next slide, of leading from the front. Being a Canadian, if you go to the next slide, a great example for me here is Shopify. Oh, let me just see. There you go. Shopify and their CEO Toby. Some of you might have seen this earlier this year. He sent a memo that in many ways went viral, and it was about how Shopify was going to use AI effectively and was a fundamental expectation of every employee. And to me, like, if you just really summarize a little bit of what he just said, I think there's a lot of good lessons to take from it, which is his message was pretty clear. For example, before asking for more resources, prove a task can't be done leveraging AI. Also, how are they tying AI into performance reviews? How is AI used in every project prototype? And I think the memo, it really hit a nerve because it showed what a leading kind of company who's at the forefront of AI, what that cultural leadership looks like to be a frontier firm. And you don't have to copy his tone, but I think the principle here is the bigger point, which is leaders have to actively drive that adoption, have to encourage experimentation, encourage best practice sharing, making it safe to try, safe to fail. Even us at Microsoft, for example, even in my own team and across the company, we have communities where employees are posting how they're using AI tips, how they're transforming business processes, also sharing areas of let's say learning and sharing that more broadly across the organization. And I think just most importantly, this should be the culture you want, where everyone is learning, everyone is leveling up together, and it's not just a top-down mandate. So look, all right, becoming a frontier sounds easy, right? But I think that the main thing that this slide a little bit is showing is that, look, becoming a frontier firm, it doesn't happen overnight. It is going to be a journey. And we typically see this journey evolve over 3 phases. Phase 1, which probably everyone is the most familiar with, is thinking about a human with an AI assistant. Look, this is where most companies are today. AI works one-to-one. It helps an employee with existing tasks, writing, scheduling, coding. Think about that. That's where you give every employee, an assistant, a co-pilot, ChatGPT, to help them get things done faster and better. Phase 2 is really where I'd say a lot of interest has been focused on, and you see a pretty exponential increase, I'd say, in business ROI, which is human-led AI augmented teams. This is where you think about AI agents becoming part of the team, even digital colleagues that can take on chunks of work. Some examples I would say is like a sales agent drafting a reply to an email, a project agent turning meeting notes into a full plan, assigning tasks. Humans lead it, but they can delegate to these agents. And you can start seeing like a little bit of blurring here, right? Like employees manage the AI outputs. And you start seeing, again, these silos break because AI needs data across departments. Phase 3, AI operated and human led. This is what I would say the frontier phase, where entire processes can run autonomously with human oversight. Accounts payable, maybe AI handles invoices, payments, books. Humans review the exceptions. Security, AI monitors and detects and responds in real time. Humans set the strategy. Humans become kind of directors and exception handlers on the innovation and judgment. And I'd see this is where org chart shift. You start seeing these human-led teams supported by AI agents. And I think really you're also going to start seeing metrics evolve. It's not so far away where AI uptime starts becoming super critical. And I'd say the last thing just on this slide, which is this isn't strictly linear. Different functions are going to move at different speeds. So you might have some parts of the organization on phase 3, while the legal or HR department's in phase 1. Not every process is going to go all the way. Some still need, heavily the human touch. But the goal really is thinking about pushing each area to create as much value, and then of course looking at your organization's risk tolerance across these different phases around how you adopt them. All right, let's go to the next slide. So when you think about these phases, let me use software development as an analogy, because it's a space where AI adoption has been pretty strong. If you go to the next slide, let me talk about GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is a software tool that helps developers write code. In 2021, we did code completions. In 2023, we had Copilot chat. By late 2024, we did multi-file edits. And in 2025 now, we have GitHub Copilot run testing and debugging its own code. All this progress in under 4 years. So why does this matter? Because 2 years ago, developers didn't imagine AI would fix its own bugs. But now it's here. And I think that same pattern is going to come to every knowledge domain. And so if you go to the next slide, just like software development, we're going to see agents transform every industry and business function. So just take that extrapolation in software development from 3 and 4 years ago to where software development is today. And I share many examples of AI in action. And as organizations become frontier, they're going to move through that journey in the phases I talked about. Healthcare, finance, retail, they're all going to be on that same trajectory around AI. So speaking of industries and business functions, I think it's a great time now for me to hand it back over to Chad to talk a little bit about the new frontier in procurement, which I'm really, really excited about the great work that Procurify is doing. So Chad, over to you.
Thank you, Zia. Listen, that is so powerful to hear what you're seeing in the market and what it means to be a frontier firm. The fact that organizations aren't waiting for disruption, but driving it with AI. So many relevant examples there. Thank you for walking through that. And for the audience, what we thought we'd do now is Zia and I will have a couple more slides together, but this part, I want to provide some more context around what we're doing at Procurify to address the new frontier in procurement. So at Procurify, we believe procurement is standing on its own frontier moment. When you think of decades, the function has been about control, managing costs, enforcing policy, even minimizing risk, all so important. But that era is giving way to something new. The future is now moving to empowerment, so that we're giving teams the speed, the insight, the confidence to make smarter decisions in real time. And that is the shift we're leading at Procurify. We're redefining intake to pay and AI-powered automation, orchestration, and trust, turning what was more back office process into a strategic advantage. So today, what I want to do is show you a little glimpse of the new frontier of spend management, procurement, what that looks like. So let's go to the next slide, which is right in this traditional procure-to-pay agent orchestration dichotomy. Yeah. So think of this as the market. The world of spend management is changing faster than ever. For years, companies have relied on this traditional procure-to-pay model, but that's for good reason. It's powerful, it's structured, it's built for control, but it also takes work, implementation, configuration, governance. It takes all of that to make it run smoothly. Now, that structure matters, and it gives finance teams confidence that every dollar is tracked, approved, and compliant. But it can also add friction. And so when you look to the right side of the screen on agent orchestration, the new path begins to emerge, and one that is driven by AI, intake, and agents. Think of it as more intuitive experiences, conversations instead of clicks, the ability to request and approve and analyze spend with the same ease that you and I do with consumer applications. Each model, the traditional model and the new model, has its own strengths. If you think about procure to pay, it brings rigor and control. And on the agent orchestration, it's going to bring speed and intelligence like never before. At Procurify, we believe the future isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about a convergence. It's about bringing together the reliability of systems with the intelligence of AI. You're combining enterprise-grade control with human-led simplicity. That is the future that we're building. Spend control simplified with AI. Let's go to the next slide. So let's think about the principles for an AI-powered procurement. As we've seen, AI is transforming how every function operates, and procurement is going to be no exception. But while many are experimenting with AI at the edges of workflow, we're going to take a different approach at Procurify. At Procurify, our philosophy is simple. AI shouldn't live beside the process, it should be in it. So we're embedding intelligence directly into every step of the intake to pay journey, from how requests are made, to how budgets are checked, to how payments are approved. It's about removing that friction, eliminating more manual work, and helping teams focus on high impact decisions, not just chasing paper trails. Second, we see AI as a seamless extension of your team. Our system doesn't want to just report what happened. It wants to explain why it happened and what to do next. Sense and respond. Think of it as your AI spend analyst. It can spot anomalies, it can surface opportunities, and it can be a guiding force for your team before issues arise. And finally, it all comes down to trust. Every automation, every recommendation, every insight must be explainable, auditable, and secure. That's how we make AI a trusted extension of your finance organization, not a black box where you don't know what's happening. Now, these three principles, AI woven in, AI as an extension, and AI built on trust, define how we approach the frontier. It's not AI for hype, it's AI for accountability, for clarity, and for confidence. Next slide, please. So, we reimagined what procurement can look like in an AI-powered world. With Procurify, every step of the intake to pay journey, from the first request to the final payment, now lives inside one unified platform. AI connects it all, orchestrating workflows, routing approvals, matching invoices, surfacing insights automatically. And what is the result of that? You're going to get smarter spend decisions, faster approvals, with complete visibility. Finance and procurement teams no longer need to chase data or juggle fragmented systems. They can see what's being spent, understand why, and take action with confidence in real time. That's the simplicity and control of today's mid-market organization's mandate. It's what they deserve, and it's what Procurify is going to set as the new standard for AI-powered spend management in the mid-market. Next slide, please. So let's think of this as AI woven into every procurement workflow. Here on the screen, we have a sampling of that. But again, our approach to AI is simple. It's not a feature, it's more foundation. Every workflow across intake to pay journey is powered by AI, not as an add-on, but as an integral layer of intelligence. It's got to start in the very beginning with intake, where requests are understood in natural language and routed automatically for approval. It's then going to travel to purchase to receive, where contracts are read, data is extracted, and POs are created automatically. And it extends through the invoice to pay, where upload matches and reconciliations happens in seconds. Across it all, AI is not going to replace all people. It's going to amplify them. It helps your team see patterns, flag anomalies, and forecast spend with confidence. Think of it as an extension of your judgment, not a substitute for it. And what's important is we're building the infrastructure and the governance that ensures every AI-driven insight is accurate, it's audible, and it's secure. Because intelligence only matters when it's trusted. And so later today, you're going to hear more about how we're taking this even further with AI-powered intake that's redefining how teams request, approve, and manage spend. That's going to be in Jonathan Su's section. Next slide, please. So everything we've talked about today leads to this. Procurify is defining the AI edge for mid-market procurement teams. The world doesn't need another platform that just automates tasks. What it needs is a platform that thinks with you, one that connects every step of the spend journey with intelligence, context, and control. From smart contract and invoice uploads to AI-powered AP automation, real-time spend insights, intelligent intake management, and procurement agents. Think as co-workers, as a digital workforce. Every part of Procurify is being re-engineered to deliver that edge. This is what happens when you combine deep procurement expertise with frontier level AI. You get speed and simplicity without losing control. You get insight and automation without losing trust. And you get a system that not only processes spend, but it understands it. That's the AI edge, and that's what we're building for the mid-market at Procurify. Zia, I'm going to turn it back to you for another couple slides.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. So, as we're kind of closing, I thought I would just focus on a couple areas. We talked a little bit around this idea of becoming frontier, and I think this is probably one of the slides that I talk to customers that most often I see customers asking for or taking a picture, which is really kind of getting this mentality of, if you think about your organization, really evolving from this idea of use case to reshape every business process. And you can see here, this is just a really quick visual to show how you as an organization can start thinking about how are you looking at your existing business processes and seeing how can AI reshape that business process. And the next slide, I think, is probably the success framework that I kind of want to leave you all with. Look, becoming frontier, it's not just about adopting AI. It's about how do you re-architect how you think as an organization, how do you operate, how do you innovate. It really is a journey of transformation. It's not just technology. And so I think this success framework here could really help you assess where are you on the journey. As we talked about previously, I think first you should be really thinking about how are you using AI across these 4 pillars. How are you using AI to enrich your employee experiences? How are you using AI to reinvent customer engagement? How are you using AI, back to my previous point, around reshaping business processes and workflows? And how are you using AI to bend the curve on innovation? And then you can see the questions here from left to right. They then really help you assess that frontier journey. Back to where I mentioned earlier around the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Are you using AI as an assistant? That's on the far left. Are you actually using AI to human-led and where the agent operates? Kind of that phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So leverage these questions, use it as your, success framework to evaluate both where you are as well as where is the opportunity in your organization. And I think, what better place to start than really everything that Chad talked about earlier just now. And so, Chad, I'll hand it back over to you to close.
Thank you. Thank you, Zia. Yeah, folks, one more slide here, and this really just brings us full circle. This is the story that we've been telling. The tools of the next generation are being shaped with our customers, not just for them. So together, in events like this, we're talking about how we're defining AI-powered spend management and what that really means for the mid-market. And we want to give you assurances around how we're approaching procure to pay to give organizations control. We want to give you insights to how agentic AI is going to give them intelligence. And we want to bring those worlds together. So you don't just modernize procurement, you transform how companies operate. The innovations that you're going to see later today, they mark the beginning of this transformation, this new era where every spend decision is smarter, is faster, is more confident. This is the frontier we're building with our customers, for our customers, and it's only the beginning. So please hang around, join us later today for exclusive looks at what's next at Procurify and what's next for the future of spend. Zia, I want to thank you so much for your partnership to Procurify, but also your words today. It's so relevant. It's so chock full of goodness in terms of how our customers and prospects on this call need to leverage AI and lean in, as you say, to be a frontier firm. Thank you again. Appreciate all the guidance you gave us.
Thank you so much. Great to join you.